Good evening, everyone. My STEM project for today is geared towards the 6th grade population, and the title of the project is How Do Oil Spills Harm Wildlife? So the introduction for this assignment is we've all seen the horrifying newscasts of oil-soaked birds and volunteers trying to clean up the mess. In some cases, animals are poisoned by trying to lick off the oil. Although it's a sad occurrence, it's important to recognize why this phenomenon happens. In this experiment, your student will chart the effects of applying water, oil, and soap to a feather. So the materials we'll need are the water, of course. We have our liquid soap here. Vegetable oil, which I've also placed in the cup here. A chart. A feather. And a toothbrush. So here's a closer look at the chart. So at the top, we'll have the child write absorbed, repelled, and changes. And on the left, they'll write water, oil, and liquid soap. So before we get started with the experiment, we're going to have the child examine the feather. We're going to notice the structure of the feather. As you can see, the little materials of the feather, they're all kind of geared upwards at an angle. And we have the quill in the middle going pretty much all the way up the feather. So this feather is not the cleanest, so hopefully the experiment still works, but we'll have the child dip the feather in the water, and if this were a clean feather, you could still see it kind of did repel some of the water. It's kind of sitting on top of the feather, but for the most part, clean feathers should repel water. So we'll have the child mark repelled. Hopefully they have some cleaner feathers to use. So next we're going to instruct the child to dip the feather in the oil and see what happens. So we'll do that. So it looks like the feather is absorbing that oil. It's kind of stuck on there in the parts that I dipped it in. Yeah. So we'll mark absorbed for the oil. So next it says to sprinkle some water on the oil covered feather and see what happens. So I'm looking at it. It seems to repel some of it still, but not as much as if it were a clean feather. It seemed to absorb some of it as well. So now I've added some soap to the water, mixed it up with the toothbrush. We're going to place the feather in the soapy water, and I'm going to try to clean it with the toothbrush and see what we can do. So we've cleaned the feather as much as we could with the toothbrush and the soap water. It's dried up a little bit, but it doesn't really look exactly the same as before. It says when we dipped the feather in the oil, it should have drooped. I didn't really see too much of that, but again, this wasn't the cleanest feather to start off with, so gotta keep that in mind. And so for the lesson for this whole project, so feathers are constructed of strands of hair and miniature hooks. The construction keeps the feathers close to the body and maintains warmth and dryness. Oil compromises this ability and endangers the bird's life. The type of oil carried by tankers is much harder to remove from birds' feathers, although it is important to try. The best course of ending this tragic circumstance is to try and prevent oil spills altogether. Alrighty, thank you.